Hello, I'm Nick Westwood, a councillor in the City of Marion from the Southern Hills ward, and I'm standing for Mayor of Marion in the 2018 election. Now, my main interest in standing for council or the community work I've done in the past years is just the people of the community. I'm only interested in improving the lives of all of us, and that's why I'm there. Now, if I was actually to be elected as mayor, which I'd appreciate, I'd bring a balanced, fair and resilient leadership, also a harmonious and respectful relationship with staff and councillors, and I believe I have that already fairly well, but always room for improvement. Also, I bring a focus on the needs of the people in many ways, and that's what I've been emphasising already while I've been in council. And in particular, one of my little pet subjects that I've adopted more recently is the greening of grass in playgrounds, adjacent playgrounds, and certain reserves where there's not a playground nice and handy. We can afford to irrigate all the parks, all the playgrounds I should say, and the reserves, selected reserves, so that people can actually go to a park or a playground or a reserve, selected reserve, and actually enjoy some green grass during the summertime. A lot of people have complained about the fact that a lot of the playgrounds end up having dead grass. How attractive is that for someone that wants to go and play there? Very unattractive, I would think. So we really need a patch of lawn type grass in every reserve, every playground I should say, and selected reserves where there's not a playground nearby. The people deserve that. The people paying rates expect certain facilities to be available to them, and I think this is one of them. Well, it is for sure. And my aims for the City of Marion in particular is to continue the improvements that we've had over the last term, and so I'm pretty happy with the improvements in general, and I want to continue that, most of them at the very least. Also, I'd like to consider any changes, in particular when we have cost cutting, that we're not just cost cutting in one little area or another little area, just in silos, as they say, like isolated from everything else. We should be considering it holistically. So we look at the whole machine to see how a little cut here and a little cut there, if that's what's appropriate, or a change of some other kind, how that's going to affect the whole machine. So we need to see that or try to understand that, and not just be doing little changes and little cuts without that coordinated approach, the holistic approach. There's been a suggestion by staff, and I think this may have been moves on it already, to review the neighbourhood centres and other such facilities, and I think that's a great idea. Now, neighbourhood centres of course perform a great function. They generally work very well. There's a lot of stuff happening in neighbourhood centres. If you haven't been there, you want to, especially if you're not in full-time work and absolutely chock-a-block in your life, go and have a look and see if there's something for yourself that you might enjoy. So the neighbourhood centres do very well, and I'm very happy about them, but I'm also very happy about reviewing, because we can always do things better, and we may discover some things that we can improve on. Also, I'd like to develop better relationship with staff. That's as in elected members and staff. Now, it's a pretty good relationship, but at the moment it's not as good as it could be, especially between some elected members and staff, and I would like to see an improvement. If I am elected mayor, I can guarantee an improvement immediately. So that's, I won't speak any more on that, but I'm just saying that out openly. I'd like to modernise the information technology and communication system. We have modernised it to some degree, or it has been modernised at the request of elected members, but there's a lot more to be done. One of the things that needs to be done is that we need, I believe the elected members should have access to a lot more information that's being kept by the council, so that and that doesn't include personal information about residents. That's not on, that elected members don't need to know that. But everything else, such as the condition of various assets, various halls and facilities, we should have record of that, and we should be able to, as elected members, delve into that, log in, look at various details that we're interested in at the time, such as maintenance, what's been happening between the users and council, etc., correspondence, or anything that's known about the place, each asset item, we should be able to look at, and we don't have to then take up the time of staff, because at the moment there are a number of elected members who are taking up a lot of staff time trying to find out various bits of information, and we just shouldn't have to, that costs us money. We shouldn't have to pay for so much time for staff to go and dig out the information where we can look it up ourselves. That's part of the modern age. The modern age, you have access to information, and it's relevant information, and we as elected members need information. We need access to information. It might be other issues come up. Well, we should be able to look up that and just see the progress without having to ask staff and take up valuable time. So this is a money-saving thing as far as anyone that's out there that wants to save money, and there'll be a few councillors as well. Oh, well, I'm happy to save money. I want to be using money more effectively. We have to spend the money wisely. That's the big thing, and I think that's been one of my goals, and I think I have helped in that respect. So we really need to get state-of-the-art information technology. We also like to embrace modern energy management. We have already, and we have a lot of solar panels on many of our facilities, on the roofs, and we're doing well in that respect. We're also, the council has also replaced a lot of the street lights, or I think most of them, I think at this stage, with modern technology, and that's a money saver, less electricity, all the good things that come with that. I'm also interested in electric vehicles, and where possible, I think that we should make use of them if possible, and work out as wisely as possible our use of alternate technology, such as electric vehicles. Also, I'd like to explore ways in which we can help residents save on their energy costs. So I don't know what that would end up looking like, but we should be trying to help our residents in various ways, which we do already. We help our residents in many ways, funding coming not just from council, but mostly from especially helping people at home, etc., to live in their homes longer as they get older or whatever, and might be disabled in some way. But the funding comes mostly from Commonwealth Government, but the council actually performs the functions and do very well. So we're helping residents in those respects, but I think we should be also trying to help residents in other ways, such as trying to save money on their energy if we can. I'd like to try to increase employment and business opportunities in the city of Marion. We should encourage, and we do already, encourage business, and we're supportive of business, and I would like to carry that on. That's a really good thing. But we have a business centre at Hallett Cove in the new Cove Civic Centre, and there's been some question raised about the effectiveness of that service at this stage, and that's something that I'd be interested in reviewing. But there's been some good work done there, and there've been some very successful functions, etc. It does bring in, they do bring in a lot of business people, and there's a lot of cross pollination, and that's great, but we can possibly do it a bit better. So and so really, in that, just to finalise that point, I do believe in that council should support business as much as we can within reason. Now just going to some of my background, my past paid work has included Commonwealth Public Service, taxi driving, nursing, and more recently website design and construction. This all been very interesting. There have been other things I've done as well, but at least I can demonstrate that I've done a variety of things. I've met quite a variety of people, seen a real variety of ways of handling things, so that just adds to my flexibility and my resource in that from that experience to see if we can solve some of the problems that we have from time to time in council. Right. So now also my community work has included leading Neighbourhood Watch years ago here in Trott Park. We live in Sheidow Park now. Also, I was the founding president of Sheidow Park and Trott Park Residents Association, and that was actually very interesting days when the original Southern Expressway was being built, and we used to have 100 or so at each meeting, and we were briefed every month on progress of that project, but also we had some really good successes. Three of the highlights are that we were responsible for the rerouting of the Southern Expressway away from Field River. We actually wrote in to the main contractor, and obviously they must have consulted with designers, etc., and the government, but they actually changed the route. And one of the things that shows, of course, is the power of the people if you're organised and you actually approach things in an orderly manner. And so we achieved a change there at Ranella. I was very pleased about that. The second achievement was that we obtained free busing for students from Trott Park and Sheidow Park down to Seaview Downs High School for almost 10 years. It started off that we were negotiating on behalf of local residents with the Education Department to try to increase the accommodation at the Hallett Cove R12 school, and after some consideration by them, they couldn't come to the party on that, so alternatively they offered free busing for the students, and that lingered on for about 10 years. So that was a good win there. The third thing that we did was we worked towards preserving Glenthorne from housing. I represented that view, and we worked towards no housing on there, and that's what we eventually got, of course. Of course, that was in concert with various political leaders around the place, but we did play a fairly important role at the time, and we were, as local people, influential in stopping housing on there at the time. And of course now the new government has decided that it will form part of a big reserve area, and that's great. So it's a good outcome. More recently, of course, I've played a key role in the development of the Trott Park community garden, and I believe that that's an important thing that we should have in our community. We should have community gardens both to learn where our food comes from and to learn to, if people don't know already, to grow food at home so you can get the freshest food that you can have grown at home. You might be able to grow all your food at home, but at least you grow some, and that fresh food straight from the garden, cooked, and then or not cooked sometimes, but then eaten on the same day, you can't get fresher than that. No fresh food people can do better than that. So that's an important part, and also an important reason to have community gardens, but also, apart from learning about that kind of thing, we have a less centralised supply of food. And I think all people should be growing more food at home as much as possible and as much as reasonably possible. But the centralised way of supplying food as we have now, if there's a bit of a disruption, half the people will probably starve maybe, or certainly be very difficult. So we want a situation, I believe, where there is a fair bit of food floating around in the community, and we can make use of it and help ourselves over any rough spots if the system falls down. So I think that's an important part for national security even. It should be considered. Okay, and last but not least, being an elected member of council since 2014 has been very interesting. A lot of reading, never done so much reading in my life, but it's been fine. And there've been, it's hundreds of pages per agenda virtually every week, and that's a lot of stuff. And I'd like to see, if I'm mayor, if we can cut that down a bit, in that we as councillors, as elected members, mayor and councillors, should be creating policies, developing policies and improving policies that we have already, so that the staff don't need to come to us quite as often and we don't have our fingers in the pie quite as much. We should pull back a bit, I believe, but we still should monitor and make sure that we think things are right for the community. But we really shouldn't be trying to get our hands on things, on the work all the time, or as often as some of the councillors like to do. We should really be able to we should be able to pull back, and with our policies, it should be adequate to guide the staff in, as to what to do. Now, because this is a political announcement, basically, I authorise this video and its contents, and can be contacted on the email address displayed on this YouTube page. So I hope that's adequate. That's all I'm going to do, and all the best, and thank you, and I hope I can serve as mayor, and I look forward to that opportunity. Thank you.